All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I believe VITALY and KRIS will be joining me pretty soon. Carlos is still sick, so he probably is not going to make it tonight. But VITALY and KRIS should be here soon. Let me make sure they have the link. Oh, KRIS said he's going to be 5 minutes late. Oh, I never sent the link? Oh, oopsie. Damn it. I wish I sent the link before I went live. Damn it. I was just downstairs. I was talking to my dad. I thought I sent the link. Sorry, VITALY. The link's there now. You can I thought I sent the fucking link, dude. I thought I sent the link. Anyway, so today was an exciting day in the equity markets. The market went up. Stock market went up. Thanks for coming to work, man. You're late.
Hold on a sec. You hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you.
I was not late. You are leaving us in the chat empty-handed, keeping the link all for yourself because you control the goddamn links for us to come on.
Is that your excuse? Is that your excuse for why you're late? Sounds like
as you can see, I've been putting things in the comments about your courses, so I was not late.
Okay, let's tell everybody. I am launching a product Friday morning. It's for Palantir investors. So if you don't care about Palantir, you will never pay for it. It's going to be $42.69 per year. It's literally $3 a month. It's a cheap product. It's not a course. And I think if you care about Palantir, people will enjoy it. So yeah, it's not a course. I don't know what could I sell a course on? What could I possibly teach people how to do? Other than be funny. I mean, I can teach people how to be funny, but I don't know if I want to spread the humor, like that.
Yes, when I FOMO into Palantir, that's when it's the top guys.
The funny thing is, dude, if you had not DCA'd into Palantir, you would just be breaking even. So I mean, I think you made the right move.
I would be $1 up.
You'd be $1. You'd be $1,000 up.
I'd be $1,000 up right now.
So I think you made the right move. You cut your losses and you put it into Ethereum and all this other shit you invested in. So
it is important to know that to know yourself that I would not be DCAing into Palantir. Yeah. So
I think that's a really big thing, dude. If you know, like, let's say, like, people are like, oh, I wish I invested in this thing because I would have, like what's that? Steve with AMD. Steve feels bad about AMD all the time because it's at 200. He had it at $2, but in the back of his head, when I talked to him, he's like, dude, I would have sold it at $10. If I had a 5x on AMD, I'm not going to hold it for 100x, right? So it's like, if you really know, then you can't really feel that bad if you got.
Well, I mean, still a 5-10x is
still amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still amazing. But okay, I also sold AMD too. Sometimes you. I told you that story. I had $12,000 I put in when $12,000 was a lot. When was this? 2012, 2013. I forgot when I did this. It was like $2, $1.50. I bought $12,000 worth, so that was maybe 10,000 shares, something like that. And I sold out like $250. So I've told you this before, and I knew what I had. The problem was I was younger investor. I didn't understand some of these things, like I wasn't paying attention to market caps. I just saw a $2 stock, and I knew AMD, like the actual chip maker, and the graphics cards were going into Xboxes. So my reasoning was sound. What was happening with AMD, but I just didn't know any of the fundamentals around the actual company.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, I think the one thing that you held on to for dear life was Tesla, right? You did not let go of that one.
Tesla, Bitcoin, Ethereum, houses. There's a lot of things I held on to for dear life, by the way. It's not just one thing. Still holding on to some of them.
Okay, so but until KRIS comes, let's talk about Ethereum, because this is are you heavier in Ethereum or Bitcoin? Which one is bigger for you?
I mean, let me check right now what is going, because they've been fighting it out.
And you are someone who's been buying this, I think, since 2000. You started aggressively buying it a lot more.
2000. There was no Ethereum in 2000.
No, at the $2,000 on Ethereum.
Oh, I mean, I've been buying again, yes, since 2000. Very aggressive, in fact, with ETH, the grayscale Ethereum Trust,
right,
as well as obviously Ethereum itself. And I mean, I knew it was going to 4K. Like after it, I think we talked about this. After it passed the 10-week MA, we mentioned this on the podcast. I said Ethereum's going to 4K, and I was like, okay, I should have bought more when it was 750, 1,000, absolutely, and I did not. But still, to get a double or a triple out of Ethereum, I'm not gonna. And the thing is, I think someone on the Discord, I'll name him Johnny, he keeps saying, if Bitcoin's only a 5x from here, what's the point? I'm like, first of all,
that was my argument. That was my argument a while ago.
No, but the thing is, first of all, it was 15K like less than a year ago. But if you get a double within a year in anything,
that's good.
What's the problem?
Yeah.
I don't understand this way of thinking. Yes, there are stocks out there that will give you a 5, 10x. Maybe SoFi will. In 10 years, it'll be a 10x or a 5x, whatever. And that might happen. But Bitcoin's going to give it to you now. Bitcoin's going to give you a double right now. When I sold Tesla, that was very painful to sell Tesla because I really never sold Tesla, and then not in any big amount. And now I did when it was around 250, 240. And it was because I saw what Ethereum and Bitcoin were doing, and Amazon as well. And I was like, I can't miss these massive opportunities because there's only so much cash to be thrown around. So I just don't understand that mentality. Like, meaning, like, if you're going to get a double, what's wrong with a double? I don't get it.
Okay, so what is going on with Ethereum right now? Why is this thing continuing to inch higher to this? Is it just following Bitcoin, or is there something unique about Ethereum?
Well, okay, so first of all, Ethereum doesn't necessarily follow Bitcoin. The whole crypto market moves up with Bitcoin. That part is true. But after Bitcoin runs and then has a pullback, this has been happening for the multiple cycles. The shitcoins run. I don't know if you're noticing now. I'm not calling Ethereum a shitcoin, but it's part of the altcoins, right?
Correct.
Ethereum gets to run. It gets to take market cap now because as the money transfers a bit from Bitcoin, at least, it goes to Ethereum and to the other altcoins that are also running. If you look up like Cardano, which I have, is up to 75 cents or whatever it's up right now from 50 cents maybe a month ago. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So and Doge is up double, I believe, in a week or two. And there's other crazier coins, of course, that are up like 400%, 500, 1,000%, Solana and all that. But that's what happens. So if Bitcoin is taking a breather, these altcoins tend to run, and Ethereum tends to catch up to what it's supposed to be at roughly to Bitcoin. I forgot the exact overvalued part of it, but it's something like a point. Is it 0.06? Maybe someone knows and looked at the chart recently, but there's a certain ratio of Ethereum to Bitcoin. If you look at the charts, and that's what a lot of crypto guys do. They look at the ratios between, if you look up on TradingView, I don't know if you want to bring it up, but the ratio from Bitcoin to Ethereum to Bitcoin, I could also bring it up. It tends to sort of catch up at certain. You want to bring it up?
No, you bring it up because I don't use TradingView as much. I should, but I just use Weaver.
It's good to look at technicals of these things.
Dude, I've started to watch some videos on the side of like trying to learn the Bollinger Bands and
Bollinger Bands, yes.
Bollinger Bands and the Fibonacci's, and I just don't feel I'm
no, it's a little tough, but I actually, okay, so my background's computer science, to go off tangent here.
Oh, really? We didn't know you did have a computer science degree. Let us know that you have a master's in computer science. Do you also,
I do have a master's.
You also get an Enphase at $2? Did you also get Bitcoin at 2 cents? Like, let us know everything, please.
As a side story to that, I was in graduate school, this is long ago, when Bitcoin was sort of coming out, and the guys in graduate school were talking about Bitcoin. I forgot what year this was. This is a long time ago, 2009, 2010, whatever. Whenever Bitcoin started like a sort of getting popular back in the day, they were talking about it. And I'm like, what is this shit? You know, even as a computer science major in graduate school, I was like, what is this junk? You know, and I never bought in that early. I actually had to wait 3-4 years to see the sort of run from 60 cents to $100 or $200, whatever it was.
To even understand it. Yeah.
To even start to wait a minute. This is going insane, you know? But okay, you threw me off track. What was I
Ethereum, Bitcoin, technicals.
No, there was something else I was going to say. Oh yeah, computer science. The reason I brought that up because I did a program. I took a course, which is actually very interesting. Machine learning for trading, and Georgia Tech had this amazing course. So I actually implemented some statistical analysis and Bollinger Bands and looking at RSI, a couple of things that you would look at to make trades based on previous data. And I only did simple tests, but I found out that if you had like 3 or 4 good indicators, the Bollinger Bands was one of them, by the way, and RSI and also MACD, if you looked at a couple of, you would be right more often than not, especially for certain stocks in the S&P. So this is all based on regression trends on the S&P, like going back in the data and looking at if it works on previous data that happened, like on JPM or whatever. You know, it's not necessarily going to work on Tesla. You know what I'm saying? So
meaning it's not just BS like these technicals. There's actually
not BS. No. And the thing is, if you win 51% of the time, 52% of the time, you're winning a lot. So these guys are trading millions of transactions, right? So I think I told you I talked to my brother-in-law who said basically, yeah, if he didn't give me the statistic of his company, that's proprietary, but he said if we win 50% of the time, this is him currently doing this. He goes, that these are massive amounts of money. Like you just have to win a very little bit more than and he didn't give me his ratio. He didn't say if it was 52, 53. He didn't say that. I'm just pointing out that you don't need, as long as you win more than 50%, you are doing quite well.
Yeah, because there are studies out there that says day traders lose like a lot, like 95% of the time, but it's not about day trading. It's about understanding technicals and then making, I guess, long-term.
So yeah, once again, these are computer programs that they're doing, that they're betting, and it is day trading. It's
okay.
I mean, it could be swing trading too, because some of the technicals they run, like I said, like Bollinger Bands. I don't know if you ever looked at Bollinger Bands, but there's an overvalued, like 2 standard deviations up or down. You're basically overvalued or undervalued. So if you're using them as one of the indicators for a stock you have a lot of data on, like JPM, I'm bringing that as an example because that's what I did. You can predict a good amount of the movements on when it flips around to go back to the mean. We talked about this reverting to the mean. So I just thought that was interesting, that if someone wants to actually look this up, and there's a program out there, look at machine learning for trading. And honestly, I was even thinking of implementing an app and just having regular retail users pick their own indicators. And I'm sure there's something like this, but it would give you basically a buy signal and alert you with a buy signal or a sell signal.
Yeah. Okay. So can you pull up the technicals on Bitcoin and Ethereum? What are you looking at that is so
all right, hold on.
Interesting.
I got diverted here, of course. Oh yeah. So here it is. And I don't look at this often because look, I'm just an Ethereum bull, and I'm not the guys who actually say don't buy Ethereum because like right now everything bleeds to Bitcoin is the common terminology, right? But because like Bitcoin's running, if Bitcoin's running, it's going to outperform all of these altcoins, so including Ethereum. But I mean, I believe in the story of Ethereum as opposed to the altcoins, like the shit coins like Cardano or XRP or whatever, or Dogecoin. All right, so here we are. You see this?
Yep.
So there's times to accumulate Ethereum and times to like sort of ignore it. And you can see that basically we are in right now. I wouldn't say like we're in a trend up, but we're above, I think, the 200-day in terms of this is the ETH Bitcoin valuation.
What does that mean? What does that mean? ETH Bitcoin.
The ratio of how much Ethereum to Bitcoin. And over here, so one Ethereum is basically 0.08 when it's overvalued. You see where it sort of tops out right here? And let me get the very top, basically somewhere right here, maybe 0.086. That's when it's sort of just topping out. And it's probably better if you sell your Ethereum and you go into Bitcoin, if that's your play, because these guys trade Ethereum to Bitcoin all the time. So my point is that we are not near the overvalued range for Ethereum right now. We're at 0.057. So Ethereum could run. Like if Ethereum ran to like 4 all-time highs, would you be surprised?
Wait, so above that purple spot is where
right
it is that's where it says
that was my line. That was something I drew a long time ago, that's sort of like it's becoming toppy. 0.08 is my toppy.
But okay, so when it gets to that toppiness, that's when you're saying this indicator says go to Bitcoin, get rid of Ethereum. What's the logic behind that? Why?
Well, it's toppy. That means these are altcoins that are going to bleed to Bitcoin. Right. So the value won't hold anymore. So what you want is you want to buy this at the bottom range, which we were buying it, by the way, and we talked about it. 0.04, 0.03. Do you see it? Like when it's lower here. Let me point it out a little bit clearer.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Hold on. I lost give me a sec. Okay. So right here, you see where I'm pointing?
Yeah.
So right here, if you were watching the past, this was June 2022. Here we had a valuation of 0.048. So if you were trading it, you would basically say, I want to trade my Bitcoin to Ethereum, and I'm expecting that I'll have a good run. And you did. You had a run all the way to 0.0, whatever the values were. I'm not sure what the values were at those times, but you would make more money trading back and forth than just keeping, like, for example, Bitcoin. So that's why people use this. So right now we touched this again where the valuation was like 0.047, sort of what we did in 22. That was a good time to accumulate it. And I think that was probably close to the bottom of Ethereum, December. No, I'm not sure what the bottom was. It was like 750, 1,000. But in either case, that was a good time to trade in and out. So a lot like traders like you are looking at the USD value. but people in crypto who have crypto like to trade these Bitcoin versus altcoins. So they trade in and out of those, if that makes any sense. And so Ethereum is good to buy at this lower range when it's 0.04, 0.05. I would even say now it's probably good to buy against Bitcoin. So if it ran to here, my point is there would be some upside against Bitcoin. So people watch this religiously, basically.
So when is the toppy part of Ethereum coming up? What price, based on what you're looking at?
Well, I mean, so Bitcoin hit all-time highs, 69,000. Actually it hit all-time high by like $100, right? $200. So it actually did that. That's great. Ethereum at that point, when it did that, Ethereum ran to like 4,700. I don't remember exactly the number, but so we still have if we're going to run, we might run very high. We might run to 47, 4,800, top out as well, and then have a massive pullback. Who knows? The other theory, of course, is everybody's saying we're going to $80,000, $90,000, but I wouldn't be surprised if at this point Ethereum took over. Usually when the altcoins take over, they have a couple of maybe a week or 2 or 3, whatever, to run, and then there's like some mini crash that happens. That's been the history of this thing. So I don't know if we're going to experience that again, just because of the inflows in this ETF that everybody keeps talking about. Maybe that's changed the dynamic. But I still feel the traders are going to trade. And if there's an opportunity to like crash it and then buy it cheaper, I think, like I said, the whales are looking for that opportunity. But right now, the altcoin should be running technically. So I'm assuming Ethereum can run a little bit harder. And my bet was 4K, obviously, at least interim. So we're basically there when it was 2K, you know?
So how did you make sense of that flash crash we saw yesterday from 69 to 59? Because we didn't get to talk about it because we didn't do the pod yesterday.
I mean, what's that percentage?
If about 15%, roundabout.
I mean, I know you're considering it a big move in crypto. I don't consider that, and it wasn't a flash crash because it lasted a little bit longer than a second. A lot of these crypto flash crashes, literally they crash and they go right back to like 69,000. So we haven't seen any of that actually. So we haven't seen the actual flash crash. This was like over a day, obviously. So it recovered pretty fast, but I don't know. I don't know if we're going all-time highs like people are talking right now. I'm still DCAing Bitcoin and Ethereum daily, by the way. I don't know if we're going to all-time highs, though, meaning I do expect a pullback, but I'm not willing to risk not being a part of it because, to me, a double still means something. To a lot of people, it seems like it doesn't mean anything. And he's gone, so. And Chris doesn't want to talk about this shit anyway, so.
Oh, sorry. I need the charger. I need to charge. Sorry.
Your vibrator? Your vibrator, you got to charge it?
I have to charge my iPad, dude. That's the fucking... Okay, so basically your take is that 69 to 59, it really is not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of crypto, and as long as these inflows keep up, then the 60
I mean, if I was to see a real crash, what's 30% off of 69,000? Like, what does that equal? Like 49,000?
Yeah,
I think
roundabout.
Yeah. I think it should have gone to around there to be an actual a real crash, in my opinion. But once again, I'm going based on history of what I've seen crypto do over the last couple of cycles. And maybe the ETF narrative is true that things are different now and just the crashes won't be as hard. I don't know. I still don't believe it, but we'll see what happens. And I'm not willing to risk not buying daily, by the way. So.
Okay. All right. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. We got this Elon Ultimate thing. I think let's do the quick.
Wait, before we continue, yes. Hold on. Can we get Chris's thoughts on dog Wi-Fi hat?
First off, with hat. It's not Wi-Fi hat. Are you, dude? Dude, you guys don't understand. Like, this thing went from 100,000 market cap to $2 billion. Like.
Well, you got to understand. So. I know everybody talks about market cap like you need $2 billion. It's just not true. A guy could have put $10,000 and it went to 2 billion market cap. If someone is saying I'm willing to buy it for right now, let's say there's no trading. We stop all trading, right? And some guy comes in and says, you know what, I'm just going to pay $3. The market cap changes. You understand that, right?
I get it. I know some people who invested in this thing when it was worth like a couple $100,000 and they've held on, and let's just say they're up a lot, dude. It's insane.
I believe you.
I was up you guys saw I was up 2,000 on my meme coin the other day. I changed it into Solana. I cashed out. So
Solana at least is a liquid coin. What happens with dog Wi-Fi hat?
With hat. Say it right. With hat.
What happens there is that eventually everyone's going to go for the exit door, and there's no liquidity there.
There's no liquidity, correct?
And the people who made dog with hat are gone. They're long gone, and they don't give a shit. So you people should be careful. If I was gonna gamble on crypto, you can gamble, like I said, on Cardano. You can gamble on Solana. You can gamble on things that have some liquidity. You know.
I would not gamble on these old coins either. Yeah, because you never know if you're the.
What do you mean I wouldn't? You are gambling on these.
No, I threw in $500, dude. It was a lotto ticket. There are people that have thrown in hundreds of. The Dogecoin millionaire, he's back.
Yeah, he's tweeting back. Can you bring up his tweet? He's a millionaire again after he spent $2 million.
No, the crazy thing is, dude, his YouTube video popped up in my feed last night. I was like, the Dogecoin millionaire. I haven't seen this guy in forever. He's pumping some new coin, and it's like, dude, you won. You're a millionaire again. But like he's not selling Dogecoin, and now.
Well, I mean, honestly, if you're in the middle of a bull run, like he's been holding Dogecoin for 4 years. Hopefully, he waits till at least it's like 40 cents and starts to offload this time around. Being smart about it.
Yeah, now he's talking about Myro. I'm just like it's. I guess. I mean, this is it.
Well, he's a personality now too, right?
Yeah, he's basically building a brand around these meme coins. So it's not something that. I mean, in my opinion, this guy's a savvy business operator. If you think about it, I mean, he's got 300,000 followers, right? He could somehow monetize those people and figure out a way to make more money than whatever he's making off of Dogecoin.
So here's my thing. I agree with you. I made a video on my channel. People can type this in. AMIT Dogecoin millionaire Walter White. In July of 2022, I did a comparison video between like how they both care about purpose more than money. And I thought it was this like unique videos, probably a dumb video, but I just got this idea. I agree with you. The problem is, I don't know if he's actually monetized his audience enough to justify the money he could have made even yesterday selling Dogecoin. Like, I don't think he's making millions of dollars from 300,000 followers. Because what can he pump to these guys? Old coins.
The fact that we're talking about the guy is enough. I mean, dude, there's influence that this guy is probably catering. I'm sure that there's some kind of stupid fucking crypto brand that's reached. Bro, I have less than 11,000 followers, and I'm getting hit up on Twitter. Oh, I have this finance app. You know, why don't you take a look and we'll sponsor you? And I'm just like, no, thank you. I'm good. Like,
yeah.
Chris, I'm gonna have a finance app soon too. I need you to take a look at it.
Yeah. No, thank you. No, just it's one of those things that.
Wow, he's not even hooking up a brother. Look at this.
What? Well, you want to get hooked up with these fake finance app? I'll give you the link.
No. Like, you missed the beginning of the conversation. I was actually trying to do a finance app based on like Bollinger Bands and doing these technical analysis and sort of giving buy sell signals on it.
Anyway, you were? I missed that. So if that's what you're trying to do, I mean, you didn't hit me up, so I'm just saying some random person hit me up. You didn't.
Yeah. No, I get you. There's a lot of these scammers absolutely hitting even me up with my measly 3,500 followers.
I wouldn't call them scammers, but it's nothing that they're doing that I would say is really that unique or proprietary. Like, if all you're doing is taking a data feed and then putting up projections, that's not real. Like, I mean, you could build a business around it. Like, I subscribe to a few things like Alpha Spread and Stock Analysis because I feel like they do a really good job of condensing information into a usable format, right? So there's definitely value in it. But in terms of like signals and stuff, I'm not so sure. I know some people use some AI software as well, something called AI Ticker Chat. I don't know if you guys saw that, where they use AI to basically go through conference calls, go through 8Ks, go through, all sorts of filings to get a better understanding of the company, because you got to remember when it comes to these filings, whether that be quarterly or annually, there are hidden pieces in there that can really clue you into which direction the company is going, but they can't exactly disclose it openly. Right. And so a lot of times these AI chatbots could possibly figure that out and give you a heads up before the market figures it out. So as an example of something that I figured out that I guess not a lot of other people figured out was when Verizon was talking about, hey, we're going to cut CapEx. Like, our CapEx this year was 23 billion. Next year, it's going to be 17. But for some reason, when I looked at the analyst projections, they didn't even incorporate that 6 billion in additional CapEx savings. Like, I don't know why they didn't readjust themselves, but now that you're seeing that CapEx reduction and that increase in cash flow, the stock price went up. But these are the things that you have to really piece down and understand. Like, here's another one that like Snowflake right now. Snowflake gave a really soft guidance for 2024, and a lot of people are punishing the shit out of Snowflake. But everything that I'm reading and everything that I'm seeing actually tells me that they're going to have a pretty good 2024 in terms of beating expectations, because that's how the market is, right? Market's all about setting expectations, and some companies right now are setting the expectations high and they're getting rewarded for it, like Palantir, right?
So we got a bunch of things to talk about. So let's get Palantir out of the way. Let's just do 5 minutes on that.
I would like to do Snow because I've started buying it as well. So
okay, so let's do Palantir, then we'll do SoFi real quick because we got a lot of people curious. Then we'll do Snowflake. $26 Titan contract. You think it's justified or it's getting ahead of itself? What do you think?
I mean, look, man, Palantir at this point to me is pretty much a retail driven stock in terms of momentum. Now, what does that mean? That means that on good news, it gets magnified to the upside, and in bad news, it gets magnified to the downside. So it's just additional volatility that's baked into the stock. So if you're buying at these prices, good luck. I can't really say much about it. You know, just the numbers are not necessarily on your side, but then again, you have momentum on your side. So sometimes sometimes momentum is stronger than fundamentals. And right now, Palantir's momentum is much stronger than its fundamentals. But you know, it's okay. Usually, you want to buy when the fundamentals and momentum are with you, but that's not. You don't have to live by that scenario. So
here's a question: this Titan contract, I don't know anything about it. How much revenue is it going to generate for Palantir?
This year, about 90 million roundabout. So it's not a substantial increase in revenue. It's just that this is one out of what Mariana, who upgraded the stock today at Bank of America, it's $28. She thinks this is going to be a couple $1 billion worth of deals over the next decade. It's not guaranteed, but she thinks it lays the catalyst for it because the DoD is they beat Raytheon for this, and that's not easy to do. So she was bullish, and then the market reacted. I think we had 200 million shares in volume. I don't think that 10% move is retail. I think that was institutional today. They have AIPCon tomorrow, which is like their dream force. And if they announce some really good partnerships, collaboration, OpenAI is going to be there tomorrow, then maybe that also pumps the stock a bit. I think 28, 29, it starts to get up there. But 26, now it's trading at Snowflake. It's $1 billion above Snowflake. So if Snowflake is undervalued here at 55 billion.
Well, what's the revenue compared? I don't even know that.
Snowflake makes about 500-600 million more than Palantir in revenue. So like their growth rate is better. And they're, as KRIS will talk about, they're probably sandbagging, so the growth probably will be better than Palantir's this year. But as of now, they're both neck and neck in terms of market cap. And the question becomes, is Palantir sandbagging? Because if Palantir sandbagging, then they're going to grow as well in the next couple quarters. So it'll be fun to see it play out. But as KRIS said, this is definitely momentum driven. That defense contract was huge momentum that the street, like it went through the Bloomberg terminal, and I'm sure a bunch of fund managers like, fuck, this is like a big deal. Let's just buy the stock.
So before KRIS tears apart at least your numbers, and obviously it seems like when you compare to Snowflake, who cares? The comparison doesn't even matter, honestly. We're in an AI bull market. That's number one. So I think AI in general is just going to do well. And I'm not bullish on NVIDIA fucking up for the next year or two. I'm just not. I think they're going to do extremely well.
NVIDIA today almost at 900, man. Almost at 900.
Yeah, I mean, even if there's a pullback, I'm just saying over 2 years of the next whatever happens, even with pullbacks and all that, AI is probably going to do really well, and I can't see Palantir not benefiting from that. The second thing, once again, I'm not buying any Palantir, but just from what I've heard today, that look, they're getting more customers. That's the bottom line. They're actually acquiring more customers and more deals. So I think people are starting to see, maybe institutional people, like, oh, so this is an AI play, right? So if it's an AI play, we overvalue these AI play nows, and that doesn't matter. So in the interim, I would say, I know people are trading in and out and thinking, oh, 30 is a top or whatever, but I wouldn't be trading in and out of things that are in massive bull trends. Like that. It's like, why am I not selling Bitcoin? I have made a lot of money on, we're in a massive bull trend on Bitcoin. It's idiotic of me to now just lose whatever upside there is. So I feel like if you're trying to hit some 30 and then it pulls back to 25 and everyone says, I told you it pulled back, gives a shit. Like, it doesn't even matter. So it's only an opportunity to accumulate more because it seems like they're doing the right things. And once again, I'm not buying because I'm not interested, but I can't see this doing bad over 2 years.
Agreed. All right, let's talk about SoFi because a lot of people are worried about what's happening with SoFi. I bought Leaps today. I bought some stock yesterday. I think the thing is getting crushed for no reason. I talked to a bunch of people who tripled their positions on SoFi. So, Chris, you and I were talking about this yesterday, but we didn't get to do the pod. SoFi is announcing proposed convertible senior notes offering due in 2029. They're raising $750 million in convertible debt, and they're going to pay this debt back, they're saying, in 2029. The sort of common understanding here is that they're using this raise to pay back higher interest debt with lower interest debt currently, and that if there is some dilution, which there probably will be, it'll be in 2029 above about 130% around the price in the offering. So SoFi shareholders should do well even if they get diluted in 2029. What were your thoughts on this? Would you buy the dip? This thing was down 20%. And do you think this is something that SoFi shareholders should be scared about going up in the future?
Dude, I'm not interested in a fintech bank. I mean, they've got so much.
I thought you were going to say banks for a second.
I'm just not interested. No, I'm interested in banks, but this one's just does not interest me, man, right now. You know, it's got some potential ahead of it, but dude, whatever moat that this pseudo bank / tech company has, I mean, oh, we're digital first bank. Okay. You know, like JP Morgan doesn't have their own app, or like every bank has their own apps now. Every bank's got his own.
By the way, JP Morgan's app sucks. I have Chase. I use it.
SoFi's app sucks too.
Also, that's true. But
banking apps in general suck.
But I can forgive SoFi for at least temporarily sucking because they're newer and they're building up their infrastructure, and you could see getting better. But I mean, JPM, with the amount of resources they have to have shitty fucking apps, is kind of crazy.
But forget SoFi's moat, because I mean, even me, like if this gets to 12, 15, it's a nice trade. What do you feel about the valuation at $7? Like, do you think it deserves to be down 30% because of this offering? I think that's the real question.
It's trending in the right direction. That's a good sign, right?
Is it?
Like in terms of like its fundamentals are trending in the right direction.
Oh, that's
so
true.
it's net income positive finally, right? Isn't that a big plus?
So
there is a business there. So there isn't any sort of bankruptcy, anything risk like that. I mean, it's just this is not an industry that's loved right now, dude. So it's hard to be in it. You know, this is not an AI play.
But do you think this common offering is enough for it to tank 30%? That's my question.
I don't think so. I didn't see anything really negative about it. Like, you know, I mean, the only downside, I didn't see what the offerings percentage was, because if you look at the one that was there previously, it was 0. So they weren't paying any interest. How much are they paying interest on this one? Do you know?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure.
On this convertible. I'm sure it's low, but you know, it's free money versus not free money. So I don't know.
Vitaly, where are you buying this SoFi dip?
No, I'm not buying any SoFi.
You have SoFi though.
I'm sad I didn't sell it earlier when Chris sold.
Well, that's true. Chris got out at $10. He was like, "Fuck you guys, I'm out."
Yeah. Oh, that once again, sometimes I don't listen to my own advice. Like if your options are like 200-300%, maybe it's okay to sell some options. Unfortunately,
okay. Speaking of options, Amit, how are you doing on your TFC spreads?
They're doing pretty damn good. I'm not gonna lie.
See,
they're doing pretty damn
now.
good.
The reason why I bring that up is because legislation, and today we had
let's talk about regionals. Go ahead. Let's talk about regionals. Yeah, go ahead.
So today, a lot of what Jerome Powell, the conversation that they had on Congress, everyone was focusing on inflation, but I could give two shits about inflation right now. I think inflation is going to, eventually come down. More importantly, was the regulation around Basel III. So did you hear about that?
Like literally, I heard about it, but what for everyone? And for me also, what is Basel III? I know it's a banking legislation that uniquely affects regionals, but why did he get asked 50 questions about it today in Congress?
Because Basel III Endgame is basically some regulatory changes, and Michael Barr is really trying to push, like, from a regulatory standpoint, to make things difficult for a lot of regional banks. Basically, you would have the inclusion, and if we look at how the banking system works like this. You give them money, they lend that money out to people, and they make money on the spread, right? So if they pay you 3%, they lend it out for 5%, they make a 2% spread. That's how banking works. The more money that they're able to lend out, the more money that they can generate. The thing is, though, the more money that they lend out, the more likely it is that they're taking on additional risk, because at the end of the day, if someone doesn't pay their loan back, that means that the bank has to take a hit. Right? They have to basically consider that a loss. So what ends up happening is some banks will take too much risk. And so regulation comes around and says, look, you need to keep this much cash on your balance sheet or this much assets on your balance sheet in order to be considered to be a healthy bank. Now, usually the bigger you are, which is like if you're a mega bank, you are actually required much higher capital requirements because you were a systematically, you're too big to fail essentially. Because if JP Morgan right now ends up going down, the entire economy is going down. So they want to make sure that they're regulating them extra hard, making sure that they're not lending out as much money. Now, does that affect their profitability? Yes, but it also safeguards the economy. Regional banks, which are under these guys, they're impacted a lot less because they're not too big to fail, but you would kind of put them in a category where they're too important to fail, right? So if you look at Silicon Valley Bank and New York Community Bank and all these other ones, they're not too big to fail, but they are too important to fail because they can destroy a region's economy if they were to go down. So the new legislation that's coming out basically says that, hey, listen, there were some carve-outs in the regulations in the past that no longer apply, and a lot of the same regulations that apply to the big guys should apply to you now. Because the regionals, yeah. And so some of the things in there, remember, like we said, with the AOCI losses, they get included in the CET1 capital ratio requirements, according to Basel III Endgame. So that's why companies like TFC says, hey, listen, we cannot rely on this getting pushed back. So we are going to have to raise capital now. So how do you raise capital? You've got three options. Number one, you issue more stock, which means you dilute shareholders, which is never good. Two, you either freeze or you cut the dividend, which also is not a good thing for shareholders, right? And number three, you have to sell assets that you have on the books. Now, the thing is, if you have AOCI losses, which means that, let's say you lent out money at 3% when interest rates were low, and right now interest rates are at 5%, no one is going to buy your 3% loan for the same price that you issued it at. More than likely, you're going to have to take a significant haircut. And if you have to take that haircut, that's going to get included in your losses section. So you'll go from a paper loss to a real loss. And so number three is out of the question. So because of that, regional banks have been basically beaten down. So if this Basel III endgame proposal gets pushed back, it gives these banks more time to raise capital. And maybe even Basel III gets completely, I don't think they'll ever stop it, but at least push it back further and further. That's why Truist has been doing so well, because what did they have that the other regionals didn't have? They had a huge insurance business that they were able to sell, and they were able to raise the capital. So now their capital requirements are fine. So they're no longer in a position where they're going to fail. They also have a lot of room where they can actually cut some staff, cut some buildings, because
for the broader regional banks, do you think they're screwed? Like New York Community Bank fell to $1.80. Everyone thought it was dead. It was getting eaten up today because they're raising $1 billion by dilution, and then they spiked back up to 370.
Yeah, because Steven Mnuchin, his fund, just put in $1 billion into it.
But that's why they fell, because the market was upset that they're raising capital. But I guess
no.
Okay, why they fall then?
So they're raising capital.
It's a shit coin,
which is good.
It's
not a shit coin, but them raising capital is the entire banking sector is based on confidence, right? It's not necessarily based on just true fundamentals, but on confidence. That's why if you look at Silicon Valley Bank, you look at these things, they didn't go down because they were losing money, right? They went down because people did not have confidence in the bank and were withdrawing money. Now, the thing is, when you withdraw money, you're basically causing a run on the bank, right? So as an example, if you have a paper loss, Amit, right? And you and all these people at the same time go there and say, hey, I want my money back, you're going to have to pretty much cash out all those bad loans at the same time and liquidate them in order to pay the depositors back. So you need to have liquidity on your balance sheet. So the entire banking sector is based on that principle, which is confidence. So when people lose confidence, people, banks will get sold off and basically they'll get put into a really bad
place.
You're
saying within an hour, people regain confidence from $1.70 to $4.
Yeah, because a huge fund put money in there. Yeah. This is very similar to 08 and 09 when remember when Buffett came in and bought a shit ton of Goldman? You remember that? So when you have a large fund willing to dump money in there, that means that now they have the ability to generate liquidity. And that now the depositors who are in there afraid like they can't get their money out, they're not going to be as worried, in which case now they can, keep operating the bank going forward. So
okay. So go ahead, Vitaly. Go ahead.
Well, I don't care about regionals, but I was going to show you. It's good that you guys are boring the shit out of everybody. But I do want to show the SoFi.
Yes, let's go back to talking about Bitcoin.
No, this isn't it's basically Bitcoin. SoFi Bank.
You can't even buy Bitcoin on SoFi anymore. So.
Look, the reason at least I can say I'm interested in this bank is because I do believe the tech side can be a real business. But I wanted to point out that it's not doing anything crazy right now. It's actually sticking in its trend. There's a big downtrend happening, so that's worrisome. But it is in an uptrend that it hasn't broken down, by the way. So even 740 where it's holding, if we hold it and Noto comes out, when is the next earnings? April?
May. Yeah, roundabout.
That's a perfect opportunity. If he comes out and shows positive, some profits, then I think we might be actually breaking up. So if he doesn't, then I think we're breaking down and we're going much lower. So it's precarious, but we're coming to the end of a decision being made here. So I just want everybody to know that's happening in the next couple of months.
All right. So let's quickly do Elon, OpenAI, then we'll end it off with Snowflake. So the TLDR.
Why do we got to cover everything? Just go straight to Snow. It's 15 minutes left, right?
Okay. Do you want to use? Some people wanted to know the Elon OpenAI. We could just do Snowflake. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So why are you buying Snowflake, Vitaly?
Because Chris told me to.
Okay. Chris, what the fuck is the thesis on Snowflake? Why would you get Vitaly stuck into this now?
Well, okay.
That's the smartest thing I've heard Vitaly say all day.
Mine are actually, I haven't done a lot of due diligence and I haven't put a lot of money into this yet. What I do usually is I do a little bit of money and then I start learning about whether I want to keep investing. But the thing is, of Snowflake, I've been hearing about it for a lot. First of all, is Buffett still invested in Snowflake, or has he sold out?
Yes, he's in it.
That's number one. That actually means something to me. Number two is that this might be just word of mouth or whatever, but I have people also that are in the industry, and every time we talk about what systems they're using Snowflake. All right. I've never had a conversation where someone says I use Palantir. I've never had that, but I've had plenty of conversations that have said we use Snowflake in the back end or whatever we're doing, even though I don't get deeper into it. And I just put that into my head, like, oh, that's another data point that this is something that's known, something that's being used. And once again, what my thesis on searching out is not just looking at all the math. A lot of times the fundamental analysis is this a company that is taking over? And this is going to be some sort of a monopoly in this industry. And I think Snowflake has a chance of doing that just from doing the research I've done so far. Chris will have different data points in terms of looking at the balance sheet and all, but honestly, that means a lot to me. When I bought Tesla and when I bought Enphase, it's because I started seeing it around me, okay? I started seeing people using those products. I started seeing Teslas drive by. That's a different sort of way of investing, I guess, sort of like maybe the Peter Lynch investing where I have to see the product. I have to know that it's there, that I can use it. And so I feel Snowflake is for the masses in terms of AI, while Palantir might be for like a niche audience, but still big. I think Snowflake is that AI play for the masses. And I want to be a part of anything like that because I don't have really anything AI besides Tesla in my portfolio and Google, of course,
I think one of the things that we need to start getting away from is this cross comparison between Snowflake and Palantir as some kind of like competitive thing, right? Because I think what it is if you speak about Snowflake, that means you're anti-Palantir, and if you speak about Palantir, you're anti-Snowflake, and it's not really the case. Like that's a really myopic way of looking at things, and I feel partially responsible for kind of like bringing that whole thing on. So I am going to.
You were responsible. You're the reason. This is the
technically it was actually CodeStrap. That's CodeStrap's the one that did it. I just played along and said, hey, I'm going to join the dark side. And the dark side just happened to be Snowflake. So, it's just whatever. The point is, I get the same exact things that VITALY is saying right now, where a lot of people that I speak to speak about Snowflake. My organization uses Snowflake. A lot of people that I spoke to use Snowflake for their backend. But there's a much bigger bull case to Snowflake and this recent acquisition of Neeva. I know a lot of people are kind of a little bit like, oh, yo, you just bought like an AI search engine. Like, there's not really much to it, blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, as I read into this more, I realized what the acquisition was all about. It was a talent acquisition more than like a physical software, like they needed the software for it. And I think the new CEO was one of the people that they ended up getting with this acquisition. I think it's really interesting. A lot of the ideas that he has are things that are pretty much something that can turn Snowflake into a great business long term. I think that they guided a very soft guidance this quarter, going for 2024, but that's to easily set up from extra headroom. There are a lot of products that Snowflake is going to market with within the next year. And the thing is, they completely ignored any material revenue getting factored into their growth. Why? Primarily because they pretty much just sandbagged and they just wanted to leave a lot of headway. But if you look at this guy's pedigree, I've literally for the last week, I've been deep diving into everything about this guy, about the team that he brought in from Neeva, about some of the recruiting that he's been doing recently. And it's phenomenal, dude. And this guy, by the way, his core competency is moving things much faster. And he's actually from the technologist side, but he's also an operator side. So I think Snowflake is being set up for.
But are you thinking of it as an investment or a trade back to 200? Like, how are you thinking?
No, I'm thinking of it as an investment. Believe it or not, if you look at their forward projections,
I don't believe it.
They're projecting to do about 10 billion in revenue by 2030, which I think they can easily get to by actually 2028. And then on top of it, if you look at their gross margins, they're close to, I think, the high 70s, I think low 80s, right? And a huge amount of free cash flow. So even with the SBC that they have right now, everyone is focusing on the SBC saying, oh, look, Snowflake is just spending so much money on SBC. But if you really look at the shares outstanding, the dilution really isn't there. And the reason why it's not there is the same argument that a lot of people made when Meta was trading at 88, saying, look, Zuckerberg is just diluting everyone. And it's like, no, they're using their free cash flow to buy back shares opportunistically as well. So if you look at Snowflake's dilution, it's less than 3% per year. How many companies can actually say in the SaaS space that they're doing that? So I say focus more on the free cash flow number rather than the SBC right this minute. They're doing a lot of talent acquisitions, and so they have to spend money on SBC. So here's an example of something that not a lot of people know. Amit, can you type in this in Google? Type in Microsoft. Damn it.
Snowflake partnership?
No. So they actually recruited some AI talent from some of the other companies, because right now there is a war. There's basically a hiring frenzy of AI researchers who are very competent because they're worth their weight in gold. So they're getting a crap ton of SBC to join, but they're essentially recruiting them. I think it's called Lightspeed or something like that from them. I don't know. I have to find out what the exact thing is called.
Okay, so basically you're saying this thing didn't deserve to drop 30%. New CEO is a really he's a good CEO. He's gonna do well. They're sandbagging guidance so that he can beat expectations. And then VITALY's point is what you agree with, that Snowflake's used everywhere and it's going to be continued to use everywhere. Here's my question. If it's becoming used everywhere, if they already have 8,000 clients, it's kind of commoditized. What's so special about the actual software over the next 10 years?
Okay, so this is where you have to look at the business model and ask yourself, if you go into, let's say, the Lyft versus Uber question that we go with, right? When you're starting a business up or a new industry, one of the things that you want to do early is grab as much market share as possible. Because once you grab a crap ton of market share, what ends up happening is the new people, the new competitors, they can't get through because all of their counterparties are already on one system. So as an example, if you're using Snowflake, I'm using Snowflake, and Amit is using Snowflake, if Carlos comes in and says, hey, I have this new product, we're going to tell you, hey, Carlos, you're going to have to switch because the three of us are not going to switch to your shit, unless your product is way better. So that's the key to Snowflake right now, that they are just getting a giant push to make sure that their ecosystem is the most dominant ecosystem. Think about Microsoft, right? Microsoft right now, tell me a Windows competitor. Why? Why is there no Windows competitor? Why? Because the entire market was captured so fully by these guys that it really left no one to come in and challenge them. So now everyone just stays with Microsoft. So this is the play on Snowflake right now, where they are trying to be the data brokers.
The second thing, just to say to your thing, that once that competition, once you've captured the market, the other thing is all of the hordes of engineers that are trained on your product. And I know everybody keeps talking about how simple it is to move to different things. It is not. It is annoying. Okay. As an engineer, I hate learning new systems if I don't have to. It has to be 10 times better for me to go learn something else. So that is a major component of this. The more developers themselves and people that are hired that use Snowflake, that's what they're going to use at their companies.
So here's a good question that someone asked. Someone said, would Snow CEO have stepped down to be chair of the board if things weren't set up for glory? No way. Okay. That is exactly the way that I'm thinking about it, where Frank Slootman, this is not his first CEO position. This is his third. He's gone through multiple positions as a CEO. At this point, he's not looking for glory. He's just looking for just to chill, right? This acquisition that they did not exactly expect Sridhar to be like who he is. But when they discovered who he was, they're like, listen, we are smart enough. We know enough to let the horse that we have run. And that's what they essentially did with this new CEO. This guy, I'm telling you, this guy's a fucking killer when it comes to this AI sphere. So as much research as you want to do in Snowflake, Amit, I say do some research on this new guy that they hired, man. He's very Satya Nadella-ish. He's very pragmatic. He's willing to pivot where he needs to pivot. He's actually has a lot of success behind him, especially because if you look at the team that he built at Google, it was almost a 12,000 person team, took Google ads from 1 billion to 100 billion.
Do you want to wait, Google hired the wrong Indian? Is that what you're saying?
That's basically
should have got this guy.
They should have put this guy as the CEO.
You want to hear him real quick, Vitaly? I don't think you've heard this guy. Let's hear him real quick. All right. So you said he's a killer, and you can't judge a book by its cover, but let's hear him talk, and I want to hear what Vitaly thinks and what the chat thinks about him just based on this first impression. But here we go.
Yeah. You got to start at the beginning.
Okay, here we go.
Domain like ServiceNow, and then you move on because you give it all she's got. So this is the moment, right? You're in a chair, but you feel like you've gotten to where it has to be.
Yeah, it's certainly that. But it's also having a great opportunity to have cross paths with somebody like Sridhar. That we're thrilled to bits that we're able to make this move and affect succession in this way. Been part of many successions in the past, and they're difficult and hard and challenging. So I'm super pleased to be where we are today.
All right, so Sridhar, I know you as someone. I know you from a close friend of ours, admittedly, but you came in at 1.5 billion in ad sales, and you took it to 100 bill. I think that's not so bad. But big shoes here, because when Frank retired from ServiceNow, it was a 67, and then it went to 759. What are your plans going forward to keep the momentum?
Frank and our founders have built Snowflake to be the trusted, efficient, cost-effective enterprise data platform. That's a pretty good base to build on top of. But what's really exciting about the current moment, Jim, is that we have so much ambition to do more, whether it is applications running on top of Snowflake, or of course, using the power of generative AI, which I've been focused on for the past year, to democratize access to enterprise data, to have even more people be able to get at the data quickly, to get value from it. So I think there's a huge opportunity in the world of data applications and AI, that'll keep me busy for many years to come.
Well, let me ask you, what do you think about the...
All right. What do you guys
selling
think?
tomorrow.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling you wouldn't really like how he sounds. What does the chat think? I don't know. Look. My first opinion, dude, and I think Chris's DD is right, but that guy does not sound like he's an inspiring.
He doesn't sound like a killer.
He doesn't sound like a killer at all, dude.
He sounds like
I've been working with
easily.
And forget the accent. Forget the accent. It's just like the way he was. It wasn't like, yeah, like Snowflake. It was just like, I've been working with generative AI. It's like, okay. So is everybody.
I'm telling you, the real ones you gotta watch out for.
What do you say, Vitaly?
Is he a philosopher though? That's what's important.
Well, maybe that would be exciting.
He looks technical. That's important. I do got to listen to him to speak more.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you really have to dig down deep and understand this new CEO, all the stuff that he brings, and it's not something that you're going to see right now. I think right now you're getting a gift in Snowflake prices at being this low. So I'm okay buying at this price, even if it goes down.
Are you buying shares or spreads? I mean, be honest.
I'm buying both. Buying both.
Is it half and half?
Why are you always trying to get me to disclose all my positions? I don't get that. It's like, no, what are you doing, Chris? What do you do? Are you doing spreads? Like,
no, okay. In Vitaly's
wait. So you're saying you're not going to share? You're saying you wouldn't share?
Hey, join the Patreon, bro. You'll get all the DD that you need, bro. Right. And I'm just kidding.
Everything is. By the way, everything is behind a paywall now. 6 months ago, I want the information to be free. All right. Now it's like, motherfucker, join the Patreon.
No, in defense of Vitaly, I think he's asking because is it actually an investment, or do you think it goes to 30 and then you make a 3x on a spread? Like that's how I think a lot of people.
I think both actually. Both the spread is worth it to do, but then also long term, the stock is going to do absolutely phenomenal as well. I think this company gets to 10 billion in rev, which means that right now it's trading at about 160. It can get easily to 500. Because that's $100 billion in what's that thing called, in market cap?
No, so 500 is not $100 billion. The stock's already at 50 billion.
It's at 50 billion.
It would have to be 250. It would have to be 250. That would give you 500 billion market cap.
So here's the thing.
Or no, hold on. $250 would be $100 billion market cap, right? Yeah. 230 was 70 billion. 230 was 70 billion. That was
so right now. What's the current market cap right now?
50 billion.
55 at 160.
Right. So then you would
150.
Right. So that would be 300. Right. $300 a share would be about $1 billion. Right.
Would be $100 billion. Yeah.
Right. So I think eventually it gets to that and more. Basically.
Okay, you said $500. That's why I was okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, if by 2030 it gets over $500.
Okay.
So I want to point out there's another reason. Obviously, I started buying now without doing all my due diligence. So I'm not saying people should follow me into this, but sometimes there is an opportunity. Can you bring up the chart? So I do look at technicals, and I think you mentioned this before. First of all, the RSI has been smashed. I think we are at 30, under 30 right now. That's what it looks like. The other thing that obviously, I'm not saying this trend has to hold. Even Meta fell through its longer term trend, right? So this can easily break through. But Snowflake technically is getting closer to some bottom, at least temporarily, than it is to a top. So I do see. That's why I was asking you: is this a real long term play? Because in my opinion, this can maybe hit 150, but 166 is fine. And I think the top, if we were to top out again and then just collapse, would be around $200, maybe 212 possibly,
All right. So there you go.
So there is some alpha here, in my opinion.
And that is the thesis on Snowflake. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's nothing else that's that crazy this week outside the Elon OpenAI thing, but it's whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, CrowdStrike was another one that was interesting.
But they were up 30% today. Then they got chopped off. They're only up 10%. So I think the street gave them a little bit too much too quick.
Well, that's what happened, right? The expectations for CrowdStrike's a great company, all right. So let's just get that out of the way first. They're not a poor company. They're in a sector that's likely to grow at a 15 to 20% CAGR per year. There's still a lot of people transitioning from legacy cybersecurity to new cybersecurity. So the valuation premiums are a bit high, right, on the cybersecurity names right now. But they're in a secular growth market. I think that cybersecurity is going to be a big piece of pretty much the technology landscape. So and CrowdStrike is at the top of it. The only thing is the current valuation worth it? I don't know. The bearishness that Palo Alto put out there was that, oh, there seems to be some fatigue by companies in terms of spending on SaaS. And today, or yesterday, when CrowdStrike reported their numbers, they said, what fatigue? We're doing just fine.
Yep.
So it was almost like a challenge to Palo Alto saying, yeah, bullshit. Like you think you're justifying your bad numbers by saying that there's spending fatigue, and I'm fine. I'm doing just fine. It's just, so it's kind of funny how there's like shade being thrown against each other on Twitter, right? Where Palo Alto, like Nikesh Arora, the CEO, what he meant to say wasn't necessarily that there was spending fatigue, but there was fatigue on so many options. You ever get into that? It's like you want to spend money, but you don't want to spend it on so many different things. You just
it's
want
like
to
if you're at a
find
buffet. If you're at a buffet, it's hard to eat because there's so many things versus if you just get, one meal.
Right. You get more anxiety from a buffet because there's just so much shit versus, hey, I just want to pick one thing off of a menu. So I think that is what the CEO of Palo Alto was saying. Like, hey, listen, I think right now a lot of, because that even cybersecurity, if you look at how it works, it's not just you buy one product and boom, you're good to go. It's you have endpoint security, you have SASE, you have, you've got networking, the piece of it. And so Palo Alto has kind of built like an all-encompassing kind of like an offering. And so what happens is what they're trying to do is get a lot of these companies to transition away from doing this hodgepodge of cybersecurity and instead just to do one thing, right? And just go with one product. And they're able to kind of bundle services together. So once again, this is a very Microsoft kind of like play. If you guys remember, where Microsoft just says, look, you don't need to go to X for cloud services and these guys for office services and these guys for operating. Like, we'll just give you everything in one shot and we'll bundle it. So enterprises love interoperability and bundling. So Palo Alto basically said, we're going to give away services for free until these people get to transition off of their existing contracts with these legacy cybersecurity people. So as they migrate off of them, Palo Alto will be pretty much the beneficiaries, but in the short term, they're going to get some pain, right? So as an example, let's say right now, Amit, you had a cybersecurity, you're in charge of your cybersecurity at your company. You have Palo Alto, which does this thing. You've got another company that does that, another company that does that, and you have multiple contracts. So you've got a contract with me, you've got a contract with that person, you got a contract with another person, and all three of our contracts are expiring at different times. Well, right now, if Palo Alto comes to you and says, hey, listen, get these other two out, right? And I will make sure that I'm covering what that guy does and what's covering that guy does, right? And you'll get it at a lower price point, right? How would you feel about that? The company is going to say, listen, I don't want to pay you and then pay this guy because I've already 2 years
all happening together all at once,
right? Yeah. So Palo Alto says, listen, I'll do you a solid. I will give you my shit for free, right? Until that guy gets transitioned off. Once that guy transitioned off, you come to us and now you have an all-encompassing product. And that's what they've decided to do. Now, what does that mean? That means that Palo Alto in the short term is taking a hit, because you got to support them for free. You've got to integrate them for free. You got to do all this shit for free, which means that's going to cost you money. But what it also means is that you're capturing that client fully. So in the future, you'll gain a lot more money. And by the way, you got to remember, Nancy Pelosi is on our side, boy.
No, she has CrowdStrike and Palo Alto. She has both.
That's right. Pelosi Capital doesn't miss.
So you're looking at CrowdStrike as well with Snowflake. You're looking at both.
Yeah. I like CrowdStrike too. The only thing is the valuation on CrowdStrike is just sort of like insane right now. But, if it pulls back, I'll be a buyer.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it for us. Thank you, everybody. We will see you tomorrow, Thursday, and we'll be back here. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Later,
Have
guys.
a good one. Good night.